them walk out of the corn and onto the field, I thought that there was a whole lot of nostalgia to it. So that to me kind of stood out. You know, obviously it was a great game, as you mentioned, Joy, but you know, for me, I just like the pageantry of sports and different things like that. It takes me back to a time when I played. So yeah, I thought the walk-in brew was pretty dope.
Look, it was a fantastic night. The scenery all night, just seeing the shots and the cornfields behind the players and behind the fence was awesome. And everybody wanted to know, are these guys going to hit home runs into the cornfields? They wanted to see it, and they did not disappoint. 8 dingers, 8 home runs into the cornfields last night. I thought that was outstanding. So that was my favorite part of it, all the dingers.
I'm certain Rob Parker was somewhere sitting in his off-whites and high knee.
I think he was crying, LeVar.
Excited. Yeah, you're probably right. Speaking of tears. Speaking of crying, there's a whole lot of joy and excitement. You know why? Because we're going to head out to Jacksonville and talk about, we found out yesterday there's still a quarterbacks competition taking place between number 1 pick Trevor Lawrence, and that's right, Gardner Minshew, the mustache. Yeah, he's still going on. So there was Urban Meyer yesterday on his quarterbacks take, and let's take a listen.
Is there really a chance that you guys won't start Trevor Lawrence against Houston in a month?
Is there really a chance?
Yeah.
I think we'll answer that as it gets closer.
But it's still very much an open competition to see who gets that honor.
Yes.
At the end of the day, we're all on the same team, so I'm going to do everything I can to be the best guy for the job and to win games. But at the end of the day, that's not in my hands, the decisions. You know, I trust the coaches. We're all on the same team, and we're just trying to win.
All right, so Joy, what do you make of this?
Why do coaches do this? I gotta ask a coach why they do this. We know Trevor Lawrence is the starter in Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence not being the starter in Jacksonville is an all-time disaster. So I don't know what Urban's up to. Maybe he's trying to make him feel like he earned it. I don't really buy into that so much when it comes to the NFL. College, high school, I get it. You're trying to, raise up young men standards and work ethic, but it's in the pros now. We know Trevor Lawrence is going to be the starter in Jacksonville. Period, point blank, period. He is the starter in Jacksonville. People were talking about drafting him after his freshman year. So even though Gardner Minshew doesn't get enough credit for how competent of a quarterback he is because it's Jacksonville, if you look at Gardner Minshew's statistics and compare them to Baker Mayfield, who was another number 1 overall draft pick in Cleveland with obviously a much better roster, they're essentially the same player. It's not an unfair comparison. We're showing their stats now. Almost the same completion percentage. Gardner actually has a little bit better of a passer rating. Passing yards per game essentially equal. Passing touchdowns per game is equal. So they're essentially the same player. They're around the same size. Now, this isn't a shot at Baker, but it is what it is. Gardner Minshew is actually a very competent quarterback. He's just playing for a team that doesn't have a lot of talent. So this is a good quote-unquote quarterback competition as far as putting some pressure on Trevor Lawrence. But let's be serious. Trevor Lawrence is going to be the starter in Jacksonville. If he isn't good enough to beat out Gardner Minshew, that is an all-time miss by every single person who evaluates not only college football, but the NFL as well. We know what Trevor Lawrence is capable of. That's why he was the pick. He's a pick that is in the same category as an Andrew Luck or a Peyton Manning, just guys that come in the league and we know what to expect from them right away and have extremely high expectations. Now, whether Trevor Lawrence will be able to, with Urban Meyer, overcome the dysfunction that we've seen in Jacksonville for years and years, who knows? But he's going to be the starter day one, and we all know it.
Joy, I'm here for this. I like this, Urban. Yes, competition. This is football, and what is football about? Competition. There's nothing wrong with this. Now, I fully expect, as you do, Joy, for Trevor Lawrence to be the starter. But I expect it because he's going to beat out Gardner Minshew. He's better than Gardner Minshew. And you're right. If he isn't, oh my, we're all in trouble, okay? But there's nothing wrong with this kid going out and earning it. I get it. Aaron Rodgers is a starter. Pat Mahomes and Russell Wilson and Baker Mayfield, these guys are the starters from day one. But guess what? They earned it too. They've earned it over the years. Trevor Lawrence hasn't done anything to earn it yet. He will earn it, and he's in the process of earning it right now. But I don't like he walks in and all of a sudden we bow at his feet. You're the starter. Lead us to the promised land. I mean, yeah, he's got to do that eventually, but make the kid work for it, at least in his mind. I think that makes him a better player if it's not just handed to him and he has to go out there and earn it, at least feel like he's earning it. And then I think it raises his stature in the eyes of his teammates when they see that he's going out there to work for it and he's not so arrogant that he's upset that the job isn't automatically his. As we know, it will be, but I like this. I think it will make him a better player. I think it'll earn him more respect in the locker room. I think the players want to see him go out there and compete, and I fully expect him to be the starter on day one. But I got no problem whatsoever with Urban taking this tact and not just bowing down to the kid. I think he should earn it, and I think he will, LeVar.
You know, I have a ton of kids, Brew, and as I got older, I realized that even though I made a ton of money playing football, I needed to be sensible and reasonable in my choices of cars. So I drive a Ford Fusion, but I used to drive 360 Medina. I used to drive a quadruport Maserati. And when I became a civilian dad and I drove that Fusion and I was on the highway for the first time, I realized that I was living a different life, and I had to accept that life. Let me tell you something. Urban Meyer is not going to get into that Ford Fusion right now. You know why? Because it's too much fun to drive that 360 Medina Ferrari. It's too fun to drive that quadruport Maserati. You're not going to race those two cars. You're not going to compare them on handle and performance. Trevor Lawrence is a high-performance car, while Gardner Minshew is, well, he's fuel efficient, and it's all good. You know, you got to play your role. I enjoy driving my fuel-efficient car all around the world, taking them from place to place. But the bottom line is, if I'm trying to get to that place as quickly as I possibly can, fast, and in a hurry, with performance, I'm going to jump into the Trevor Lawrence category on this one. So I'm with Joy on this. If this is a competition, it's purely for the process. I respect Coach Urban for doing it. He comes in as a rookie head coach for the pros. I'm sure he's going to weigh out and measure out everything that's taking place from a very subjective and really just mow over the details of what his players are going to be at every single position, because this is truly a rebuild project. It's not like being in college where you have, the ability to recruit all of the talent that he's been able to use over the years during his career. But one thing we know about Urban Meyer, he just has an ability and a knack to be able to put teams and coaching staffs together that have success. So I respect his approach. I don't question it at all. I've been around Coach Meyer. I think that he's got a great, brilliant football mind. He's going to make the right decisions, but he's jumping in that Maserati. No question about it.
Yeah, I'm jumping in the Maserati too. He didn't take this job to drive Ford Fusion. And not that Gardner Minshew is a Ford Fusion, because I do not believe that.
Y'all are dissing Gardner. No, both of you have called him a Ford Fusion.
He's not.
That's his new nickname. Gardner Fusion.
No, it is not. And no disrespect to Ford Fusions, okay? I drove a Dodge Neon for a long time. I love that car. It gets you where you need to go. Listen, he didn't take this job because Gardner Minshew is the starting quarterback. He took this job because they got Trevor Lawrence. I get it. It's a philosophy to make him earn it. Sure, I can buy into the mentality of it, the intangibles of it, that I beat out Gardner Minshew for this job, and I gave you the statistics earlier. That is actually an accomplishment. Gardner Minshew is probably going to end up being a starter in the next few years in this league somewhere because he has shown that he's capable. So that's not a knock on him, but it's Trevor Lawrence. Like, we were talking about Trevor Lawrence being able to play in the pros after his freshman year. The expectations are out of this world for him. He is going to be the